Welcome back to the Explanation Pro. Today I'll recap a war drama film called Schindler's List. Spoilers incoming. The movie sets in September 1939. The German forces successfully defeats the Polish army within 2 weeks. This invasion leads to Jewish people being forced to migrate and register all family members in Krakow, or the Ghetto for Jewish people, with more than 10,000 Jews entering the city daily. Meanwhile, a businessman named Oskar Schindler takes all of his cash and attends German parties. He then buys drinks for a high-ranked German officer named Rolf Zurda and the others. Rolf quickly becomes curious about Schindler and his sudden gesture. As he goes to talk with him, they eventually enjoy their night drinking together. This gesture is continuously done by Schindler so that he can be recognized by many as a sociable businessman. One day, Schindler goes to a Judenrat, where Jews are there to complain to individuals who are responsible for the orders in Krakow. He goes to find Itzhak Stern and asks him whether he knows any Jewish investors who can fund his enamelware business intended for the German army, to which Stern will try and look for investors. As Schindler continues to build up his business, he goes to a church where individuals there are trading items instead of listening to the priest. There he meets Poldek Pfefferberg, who agrees to bring him the supplies he will need. The continuous takeover of the Germans in Poland leads to Jewish people being relocated to small rooms. Meanwhile, Schindler finally meets with the Jewish investors and eventually gains their interest in investing in his enamelware business. The war gives Schindler an idea of only hiring Jewish workers as per suggested by Stern, since, by German law, he can pay less to the Jews. Outside, people are being divided into two groups, the essential workers and the non-essential workers, with essential workers receiving work permits and the non-essential workers being taken away. Stern uses this opportunity to fabricate the documents of as many Jews he can get, to prevent them from being taken away, and they are instead offered to work at Schindler's business. Schindler's enamelware business is headed to a great start as products are being continuously made, and numerous secretaries are being hired due to his love for women. He also bribes German officers and businessmen into investing in his business, where he eventually gains a lot of fortune in his enterprise. Unknown to Schindler, his wife named Emily Schindler visits him, but she is greeted by Schindler's mistress, Ingrid. To make up for his fault, he brings his wife to a party where he explains to her about his successful business and that his name will eventually be made known to many. The couple then parts ways since Emily chooses to go and will only change her mind about going back with his husband if he promises Emily to be the only Mrs. Schindler in his life. One day at work, Stern insists Schindler hear from one of his workers who had always wanted to thank him personally for letting him work. After the encounter, Schindler is furious to know that Stern had hired a one-armed man and labeled him as an essential worker. News about this reaches Rolf, where he discusses this with Schindler. Even though his one-armed worker is already shot to his death, he still insists that he is a skilled worker in his business. While he is having an affair yet again with his mistress, Poldek interrupts them and tells Schindler about Stern being wrongfully listed to be sent to a concentration camp. He quickly goes to get Stern, and after threatening the German guards, he finally finds Stern, who forgot his work permit, which is why he is written on the list. Inside the train station, people are being seen segregating the Jewish people's belongings, which conclude that they will never receive it and that the worst is yet to come for them. A German officer named Amon Goeth arrives in Krakow, where he starts to build his labor camp there. After settling in Krakow, the Germans suddenly perform a liquidation in the ghetto, where people who are against them, unskilled, and with no particular reason, are killed. Schindler and his mistress Ingrid see the ghetto massacre from a hill, and he is distraught to know the hardships of the Jews. As the two cannot endure seeing the horrific scene, they eventually leave the distressing scene down the ghetto. At night, Jews who were hiding during the liquidation start to get out, thinking that the Germans had finally left. Little did they know, German soldiers are waiting for them, and they eventually fill the night with screams of terror and blood of innocent people everywhere. With the chaos that had happened in the ghetto, Schindler's business is heading downhill since Jews are unable to work. The remaining Jews start to be put in forced labor under Goeth. A new day arises, and as Goeth wakes up, he suddenly shoots at people using his sniper, just to start his morning. In order to save his business, Schindler goes to meet with Goeth and explains to him that with his Jewish workers gone, his business is on the verge of bankruptcy. Fortunately, through his persuasive words, Goeth agrees to give back Schindler's Jewish workers, except for Stern, who will now work as Goeth's accountant. Even though Schindler and Stern are away from each other, Stern continues to recommend skilled Jewish workers to Schindler, to which Schindler will bribe one of the Germans into relocating the workers to his business. One day, a Jewish woman meets with Schindler and asks him to let his parents be relocated to his enamelware business since his warehouse is being called a haven for the Jews. Schindler refuses at first, but he eventually tells Stern to bring the woman's parents to work for him. Schindler's heart gradually softens towards the Jews, to the point where he explains to Goethe that pardoning a person is power, not killing them mercilessly as he wishes. These wise words of Schindler are quickly embedded in Goethe's mind. The following day, he suddenly pardons most of the Jews that he encounters. Germans and Jews are baffled by Goethe's sudden change of heart. Unfortunately, his kindness didn't last long. He eventually grabs his sniper once again and kills a young Jewish boy who could not remove the stains in his bathtub. On another night of music and laughter of the Germans, Goethe goes to his basement to talk with Helen Hirsch, who is his Jewish maid. He then conveys his uncontrollable feelings towards Helen, but being an unpredictable man, his mood suddenly changes. He thinks that Helen is just tricking him and his feelings, but Helen is only an innocent Jewish maid and nothing else. While people are celebrating outside, Goethe ruthlessly beats up Helen. On the other hand, Schindler is celebrating his birthday when two of his Jewish workers, a young woman and a girl, greet him with a cake made by them. Schindler's visitors are bewildered by his gesture of kissing both the Jewish girls since it is against German law. The following morning, the Jews are forced to remove all of their clothes and be examined by doctors. They are once again divided into healthy workers and individuals who are unfit for labor anymore. After segregating the Jews, they are all shocked to see that all of their children are being sent away to concentration camps since they are all unfit for labor. Hell breaks loose and Jews come running towards the truck with the children, in hopes to save them, but they all fail to do anything but accept their children's faith. Fortunately, some children are smart enough to hide from the Germans, which include Oleg and Danka. As the Jews are about to be transported to concentration camps by train, Schindler arrives and requests that they pour water towards the Jews. The Germans think that it is a cruel gesture by Schindler, but he is in fact helping the Jewish people fight the thirst and extreme heat due to being too cramped inside the train. The next day, Schindler is arrested because he kissed a Jewish woman. Goethe tries to convince the German police to let him be free and explains that Schindler likes women of all kinds, that is why he did such an act. In the end, Schindler is freed by the Germans, but they warn him to never do it again. On his way to work, Schindler sees ashes falling all over town, and as he goes to where the ashes are from, there he sees thousands of dead Jewish bodies being incinerated as commanded. Goethe then informs Schindler that the Jews are to be brought to Auschwitz. He greatly worries for Stern, and so the two talks to one another one last time, and Schindler shows his great gratitude towards Stern since he is the one who ran his business and had been his partner from the start. The two can only toast one last time, and only hope that the war can end soon. Back at his home, he suddenly thinks of an idea and he quickly gathers all of his money in one place. He goes to Plaszow to talk with Goethe about him buying his Jewish workers, to which Goethe agrees. He and Stern quickly make a list of Jewish workers that they will buy, for them to be saved from being killed in Auschwitz. Schindler's list finally reaches 1,099 names, with Helen Hirsch being the last Jew on his list. He gambles it out with Goethe, but Goethe refuses Helen to be taken away from him. Goethe then realizes that he and Helen will never be together, and so he agrees to play Schindler's card game. Later that day, the names from Schindler's list start to be called one by one, with each of the Jews being thankful for their being saved by Schindler. As the list ends, men and women are being transported in separate trains, with the group of men being the first one to reach Schindler's hometown in Czechoslovakia. On the other hand, women are puzzled to be brought to Auschwitz, and there they experience hardship once again, where Germans ruthlessly cut their hair and force them to strip and be sanitized inside a chamber. Schindler realizes this mistake, and so he hurriedly meets with the camp commander in Auschwitz, Rudolf Haas. There he bribes him with diamonds in exchange for his Jewish workers, and being blinded by greed, Rudolf eventually agrees. As the women are being boarded on the train, the Germans start to pull the children out of the crowd and refrain them from going on the train. Luckily, Schindler is present on the scene and he successfully gives an alibi for the children to be freed. Finally, all women arrive at Czechoslovakia safely, alongside the children. Schindler also starts to explain the rules to his German guards that summary executions and being inside the factory are forbidden, unless instructed. He also goes to visit his wife Emily, who is at a church. He starts to whisper behind her that she will be the only Mrs. Schindler in his life. Knowing this, Emily finally goes to live with Schindler again, but continuous problems arise in their factory. where their products are being reported due to being unable to pass the required quality control. Despite these problems, he remains a good man towards his workers, and he even allows them to observe their Sabbath. In the end, he can only spend millions to continuously bribe the Germans again and sustain his Jewish workers to maintain his business. As the day that his business dreads finally come, the German Nazis finally surrender, making the Jews and Polish people be liberated once again in their own country. Schindler then calls out for a meeting with his workers and German guards. He explains to them their situation and gives the guards the freedom to choose between being free men and coming back to their families, or staying with the Jews and be caught by the police. All his guards quickly flee from his warehouse, leaving him and his Jewish workers left. At midnight, Schindler finally bids his last farewell to Stern and his workers. The Jews give him a letter that he can use if he is caught by the police, which states that he is not a criminal to them, and there the workers' signatures are signed. They also give him a ring that is embedded with a Talmudic quotation: "He who saves the life of one man, saves the world entire." He is very touched by their actions, and he starts to blame himself that he could have done more to save more lives. After a while, he dresses up in a Polish prison uniform and he flees the place with his wife. At the break of dawn, a Soviet dragoon informs the Jews that they are now liberated from the Germans, and so they all walk towards a nearby town in hopes to start a new life again. In the end, Schindler is declared a righteous person, while Goethe continues to show his allegiance to Hitler and is eventually hanged to death. Schindler's good deeds are never forgotten by the Jews. Even after he passed away, the Jews on Schindler's List continue to show their respect and gratitude towards Schindler by putting rocks on his grave, with an unknown man putting a pair of roses in the middle of Schindler's grave. Of the entire Schindler Jew survivor, there are more than 6,000 descendants from them, with people still being inspired by Schindler's bravery up to this day. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button and also subscribe my channel for more videos like this. See you in the next video.